The Philadelphia Phillies have taken the 5-0 Eagles and pushed them to page 2. They're not the lead story, 5-0 Eagles. The fighting Phillies are trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, a happy good morning, a great morning to be alive here in the Philadelphia area. Welcome to Trending in the AM on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms if you want to get interactive with the show today, because we've got lots of Phillies, lots of Eagles to talk about. Make sure you do it on the Facebook or YouTube page. Go to the YouTube page, hit the like button, the subscribe button, drop your comments. Good morning to Libby. Good morning to me. And like this example says, like, comment, subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Yes, good morning, guys. Go Birds. Go Phillies. It's a great morning to be awake. We went hunting Cardinals this weekend, and we caught plenty. I am Phil Stifle, your host, at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. My main man, Jason Voorhees, sitting in almost the entire week with me this week, at Mustang3651. Good morning, Jason. I know you're tired. I know it's been a long weekend, but the Phillies have bumped the 5-0 Eagles off the front page. The Eagles are page 2 news, and that's pretty damn exciting, isn't it?
I mean, it's very exciting. Like, this whole weekend, obviously going into the weekend, that first Phillies game, like, when I started watching it, just like the memories of like postseason past came to mind. Like, just right away, I just started feeling it and almost like reliving it as the game was going on. And like, I just started getting these goosebumps, and it was like just such a weird feeling because I don't know, like, I know, like, obviously the Eagles Super Bowl win was like probably outranks a Phillies
amongst
most
Philadelphia sports.
Yes, but for me, like, there's something about baseball postseason that's a little bit different, and it hits me differently. At least I don't know.
It hits me 100% differently. Postseason baseball, just baseball in general hits differently because I had such a great I had such a close relationship with my father going to baseball games as a kid. And he never got to be here for the 08 run and the 07, 9, whatever. 93 was the last time he saw it. But so it always brings back a lot of childhood memories when the Phillies are really good and when they're bad too. Just going to the park does that. But yeah, I mean, the Phillies completely came in on Friday, and nobody gave the Phillies a chance. I mean, us Phillies fans, me and you, I think we both predicted a 2-0 sweep on Friday morning. But I would not have bashed anybody if they would have called us just being homerish. The Cardinals were far and away the favored team on paper in the series. And this Phillies team was able to come in to St. Louis, a team with countless Hall of Fame players on their roster, some in their prime, some at the end of their career, and just completely take the baseball world, the baseball playoff world, by storm. To me, it's almost like, Jason, that the Phillies sweeping the Cardinals in 2 games is a bigger deal than the Mets getting beat by the Padres. At least the Padres, they also have some big names. They made huge trade acquisitions at the deadline. They were like, it's not as much of a surprise that the Padres did what they did to the Mets. This is huge. This is a big deal. And they were able to come in on Friday, set the tone. Well, not right away, because I know a lot of 90% of Phillies fans were freaking out about how poorly the bats looked at first. But they were able to take care of business and get the job done on Friday. And I think the way they won Friday's game, Jason, set the tone where I almost feel like St. Louis had already given up by game 2.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to say that, but honestly, like, if you looked at that momentum shift, the changing of events where, they bring in their closer early, Ryan Helsley, and obviously I believe he was in the 8th inning.
Mm-hmm.
They bring him back out in the 9th. Cardinals were 74-3 in the season after leading after 8 innings. Okay, 74
Repeat that again, just one more time. For
74
for those in the back.
74-3 after 8 innings when leading the game. I believe in postseason history, no team has ever scored 6 runs in the 9th inning while losing. And the Phillies were the first team to accomplish that in postseason history. That rally, I mean, JT Realmuto starts off with the single.
Mm-hmm.
He walks Harper. Castellanos gets walked. And then when Alec Boehm took that pitch and kind of just he looked like Superman. He was like,
let's just say this right now. Alec Boehm had himself a hell of a freaking weekend at the plate and in the field.
I mean,
he can't play defense. That guy made plays all weekend long.
Well, that's kind of what I'm driving at. Like, I really believe that was actually the difference maker right there. Like, I think that inning could have went differently if Boehm would have say he strikes out or he doesn't get a hit or hits into a double play.
He's got a little taste for the dramatics, it seems, and the big moment. And he loves showing off his chest in the locker room to all the girls watching the videos at home. But you know what was so great? I mean, there's so many great moments. So I want to get into game 2 in a minute and Aaron Nola's first postseason performance and how great it was. But Alec Boehm, great moment. The pitching, Zach Wheeler pitched well. The bullpen pitched pretty well, giving up only 2 runs to that team. In the first, in the whole series, let alone in the first game, that's pretty damn good. 3 runs actually. Sorry, forgot Eflin gave up that 1 in the 9th. But Rob Thomson, Jason, who's been one of Rob Thompson's harshest critics? This guy right here, okay. And Rob Thomson continues to make the most. On paper, sometimes you're like, why did he do that? But it works every time. Kind of moves. Putting in Sosa to pinch run there in that 9th inning. Come on now. That doesn't seem like necessarily like it would be the right move or the wrong move. But holy shit, if he doesn't pinch run there, he wins that game. Maybe he wins the series for us. Maybe that slide into home to take the lead. Maybe that is the momentum switch that put a heart in the Cardinals, in their chances. And that's the kind of thing right there that not only propelled us to a game 2 sweep, but could propel us into the next series against those, hated Atlanta Braves. I mean, Rob Thomson coached a near perfect 2 games this weekend. And, I know what everybody says, and I have been against it, but it just seems like these guys respond to him, and it seems like they really do truly like him. We're getting a bigger glimpse of what's going on in the locker room in the playoffs, and when you clinch a playoff series, you see the celebrations and you see a little bit more of behind the scenes. And it really does seem like behind the scenes, the more we watch, the more this team loves Rob Thomson.
I mean, yeah, you kind of nailed it. I'm kind of I like Rob Thomson, but honestly, I think, that Friday game to me was like the thing that dreams are made of. Like, honestly,
absolutely.
It was 11. I mean, you can't make this shit up. It's 11 years to the day from when the Phillies were eliminated in that 1-0 loss against Chris Carpenter and Roy Halladay. Like, against the Cardinals.
With that bad image of Ryan Howard crumpling to the ground. It's
you can't make it up.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't. And then the way that we came back in that game, and you're right, like, I think that kind of just set the tone, because I don't know if necessarily the Cardinals gave up in game 2.
Yeah, all right. So maybe it is overreaction Monday. So maybe I'm overreacting a little bit there.
No, but I'm saying, but you could kind of feel like the Phillies had all the momentum because of that. Obviously, you still have to play the game. Right. And we'll get to game 2. Aaron Nola comes in and probably pitches one of the best games. I mean, I know he didn't strike out 20 batters, but dude, he was just a machine.
Right. We can pause game 1. Let's just stay right there on Aaron Nola since you say it. I mean, Aaron Nola's not a kid. but Aaron Nola is Zach Wheeler. If you talk to 100 baseball fans from across this country, a lot of people are going to know who Zach Wheeler is. The average casual fan, because of his time in New York, people know who Zach Wheeler is. I bet you if you asked the same 100 fans who Aaron Nola was, a lot less of them would know who Aaron Nola is. And we have been very critical of Aaron Nola the last 3 or 4 years here in Philly. His struggles in September, his inconsistencies. Is he an ace or not? Well, October Aaron Nola is the best Aaron Nola I've ever. I mean, that was what for it to be his first playoff game with the opportunity to clinch that game or that series, move on to the next round, for him to come out and throw 6 2/3 of dominant shutout baseball. I mean, damn. That's all I could say. I mean, it's a damn moment. It's something that you just don't expect from people in. You could have said that if the Phillies got swept this weekend, well, there's not a lot of playoff experience on this team. Hell, they had 2 of the longest tenured baseball players in the game with no playoff experience, Gene Segura and JT Realmuto. I think it was like a combined like 2,400 games played between the two of them with no postseason, at bats. You could have made that excuse. This was just a stepping stone to next year. But their big names came up big, even under the lights of the playoffs. And I think that is so huge, especially for Aaron Nola going into this Braves series. For him to have been so dominant in his first opportunity at postseason baseball, I think it says so much about who he is and what kind of pitcher he is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was blown away by it. And you could tell that he kind of had that look. What I like about Aaron Nola, I will say, like, even in his collapses, like in September when he has struggled, he's always so calm. It reminds me of Jalen Hurts. He has like a Jalen Hurts to him in that he doesn't like let anything, even when he's having a terrible game, he doesn't show it. And I think there's a reason behind that. I think it kind of speaks that like these kind of moments in the bigger spotlight, like the games that actually matter, like let's face it, everybody plays for the playoffs. Like everybody wants to win a championship.
And whether you're for or against the new round, it's still the playoffs. You know what I mean? The lights are brighter in all 4 major sports once you get to postseason action. And in baseball, it's so different.
Honestly, I think that the new playoff format is making it more exciting because if you looked at all the playoff games, like even like every series was exciting. Like you had that Cleveland game go to 15 innings. It's just every single game kind of like weighs on every single play. And that's what I love about postseason baseball. Yeah. It's like a slow build. So like in an NFL game, say a team's down by 14, they could get that back with 2 70-yard bombs, and it's tied in like 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. Whereas baseball, it's like, oh my God, like your nerves, or like even in the second game, my nerves, Phil. I thought I was having a heart attack. Like
we learned really quick that my adopted girl Penelope is not as deaf as she thinks she is or says she is, because every time I'm clapping and cheering on every pitch, her head kept popping up to me every single time. And I even posted a video of her barking because she was so pissed at me for all that.
I saw the video.
The lights are brighter in the playoffs. We know that. But again, who on this team has playoff experience? Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, that's about it. I mean, for the most part, there might be a few games here or there from some people I'm not thinking of. But out of your big name guys, that's it. Zach Wheeler never pitched in the postseason. Aaron Nola never pitched in the postseason. Zach Eflin, obviously. Having Zach Eflin being able to come out and close games, I mean, it's kind of crazy to even think about that at this moment. And him to come out, and in game 1, he didn't have a perfect clean 9th inning. But then he was able to come out in game 2 and shake that off and not worry about it. Being down 2-0 in the 9th inning, that's nothing for a St. Louis Cardinals team with Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Ariando, Albert Pujols, who isn't the same, but is playing pretty damn well. I mean, it's just to be able to do this with the lack of experience on this team. It circles back to me to Rob Thomson. I know people say I'm flip-flopping here, But Rob Thomson, by winning that series the way he has, by now seeing that behind the scenes relationship he has with his players, Rob Thomson will be the manager of the Phillies in 2023. There's literally no doubt in my mind, no matter what happens in this Braves season, that he's earned that job now fully. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, Topper. That's right.
Well, I agree with you. You know, obviously on Rob Thompson, but the guy, you know, another guy we need to focus on, Bryce Harper. Like we were all saying, when is Bryce Harper gonna, you know, make an appearance? Because he's been struggling, like he really has. And to come out and hit that home run in the second inning, first pitch.
Yeah.
I mean,
It sets the tone.
400 and some feet. I mean, it was a blast.
I blinked my
I missed
eyes
it
and I
because
missed
I was still at work and I had just, you know, I didn't get done work until 9, so I missed the first like couple innings. But you know, obviously I watched it on replay. But then you see Bryce Harper the rest of the game. I mean, he has that hit later in the game, and he goes into second, and he was definitely safe. I mean, every single camera angle showed he was safe. Now, was that the right decision for him? Probably not. But you know what? One thing I will say about him, he's always hustling no matter what. Like, so can you really fault him?
First off, can we sidetrack on that? The announcers and how they call that the A-Rod and whoever the other dude was, god awful. And they were bashing Bryce Harper for that play. If you did any research or you paid any attention to baseball, you know Bryce Harper, that is who he is. Bryce Harper's always going to try to stretch a single to a double. That's just what he does and who he is.
But they does it a lot, and he gets caught sometimes, and other times he's safe. Yeah. Like, I don't get mad at it but I really feel that he was safe on that particular play. I mean, it showed every camera angle. But anyway, Bryce Harper, like I said, now I feel like, okay, you come out, you slay your playoff dragons, you got to the playoffs. Now you win a huge series, a series that you weren't favored in. The Cardinals were the favorite. I mean, they won a division. So now, you know, obviously the Phillies, like, they showed that they are capable of winning close game too, because they won 2-0. You know, and that's the kind of games that you're going to have to win, because especially with this offense that does struggle. Like, you know, they had some moments there where you're still saying, "Oh man."
You know what? You know, I know you and a lot of people were very, very harsh on the offense in game 1. You know, early on in the game, because they were being dominated. Let's not use, you know, easy words. They were not making good swings, not having a good plate approach, whatever it may be. But the one thing we have to continue to remember throughout the rest of this playoff run is that it doesn't, like, Monday's 6-run outburst should not surprise people, because this offense, because of how deep it is between the vets and the kids, is never out of any game. And that's the thing. Yeah, you're going up against every team's top 3 pitchers. You're not seeing number 5 starters or bullpen games in the playoffs. You're getting the best of the best, especially in game 1s and 2s. And, you know, I know people will say, you know, Jose Quintana throws junk up there. I saw everybody saying different things like that. But he still was pitching at that moment like an elite pitcher. The last month, they put his stats up there beginning of the game. In the month of September, a .85 ERA, a .75 whip, or vice versa, whatever it may be. But, you know, it doesn't matter. If you can get through that game and if your pitchers can match their pitchers, the Phillies will, in this next series against the Braves, the Phillies can never be counted out of a game. And the Braves have to know that. And whoever they face after that, if they get past the Braves, if they face the Dodgers or the Padres, have to know that we have to stay and keep pushing. There's no, you know, letting off the pedal against the Phillies team, because this offense can just, at the blink of an eye, put up 6 runs like that at any time. We've seen it all year, Jason.
Do we know the game 1 pitching matchup?
We don't know. I don't know. I do know Ranger Suarez will be pitching it. That much we do know. After that, we don't know anything else. I'm actually bringing up the schedule now to see, since last night, if anything's changed. I mean, the Braves. No, actually, officially, Ranger Suarez isn't even listed yet. But it should be Ranger Suarez game 1. Game 3, Nola. I mean, because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, game 1 and 2, and then Friday They get a day off on Thursday there. So that should give enough time for Aaron Nola to be ready for game 3. Whether they pitch Zach Wheeler on shorter rest, I think it would be only 3 days rest instead of 4 days in between games on Wednesday. So maybe they do that there. I would hope that's what they do. You could go Zach Wheeler game 2 and hope that if he can get through 5, it's not official written down on any website, but it's probably how it's going to go. Ranger, Wheeler, Nola.
Yeah, and that's only because it's a short turnaround. If
Yeah.
they could have had an extra day or two, I'm sure Wheeler would go start.
I mean, so the question is, will Ranger? If the Phillies could just have one good outing from Ranger Suarez in that first game, there's an opportunity for the Phillies to win another series here, because they're never fully out of it.
I agree, and listen, like a best of 5 series is still tough, but you just showed you can win a best of 2. It's just
Best of 3.
one. I'm sorry, best, but they won it in 2, one game at a time mentality, and that's how you have to look at these games. You can't look at them like, okay, this is a 7-game series or this is a 5-game series. You have to look at it one game at a time. Okay, we got to beat this team. So say you go down and you lose game 1 to the Braves. You know that you have Wheeler and Nola coming back.
Absolutely.
So you have to have a mentality that, okay, we're going to kind of, like I said, focus on this game today. I know that the Phillies and Braves, I don't know what the season series was. I was trying to.
Yeah, I figure I wasn't even doing any research on that series. I figured we'd break it down more tomorrow. But generally speaking, I mean, the Braves are a damn good baseball team. They're a well-coached team. They're a well-rounded team. They don't have many weaknesses on their team. I don't know if anybody's hurt on their team, if they're fully healthy or not. But the point of bringing the Braves series up was more to look back on this Cardinals 2-game, win there, is that this team is never fully out of it. You'll have Ranger going up against the Braves' number 1 pitcher, but then you'll have Wheeler and Nola going up against their number 2 and number 3. You got Wheeler and Nola going, you always, always, always have a chance. When you've got this offense that never gives up, you're never out of it.
Well,
when you have a manager,
we said that coming in. Well, I said that.
When you have a manager that just randomly makes decisions that work out every single damn time, no matter how crazy it is, you're never out of it. I mean, the guy just pulls every punch correctly. Rob Thomson. He's never wrong. It's crazy. I've never seen a guy make so many moves and never be wrong on them.
Yeah, I mean, you said
Kyle doing good. He's our new researcher for the show. He does the research while we're talking here. Lost the season series 11-8 to the Braves. That's actually not bad. I actually thought it was a little worse than that. I thought we lost about 12 or 13 games to the Braves.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I think a lot of that was – I think a lot of our success against the Braves was earlier in the season before we started having all the injuries and
guys. It's also kind of crazy back early in the season when we were not as good of a team as we are now.
That's true, but I think we match up to the Braves in that I think the Braves are the better overall team. Like if you look at their just every single layer of their team, they're a better team than the Phillies. But I think the Phillies have areas that you can pinpoint that we are superior. I think starting pitching, even though the Braves probably overall have a better starting pitching staff, our number 1 and 2 are better than their number 1 and 2. I mean, that's clear. Now, Kyle Wright won 21 games, but that's wins to me are overrated stat because that just shows that they give him run support. I mean, a lot you look at Aaron Nola's record, you wouldn't know that Aaron Nola's a good pitcher looking at his record. Mm-hmm. I mean, but we know Aaron Nola because we see him game in and game out.
Right.
But what I'm hammering at is that I think we have the advantage where, as you said, maybe our offense is inconsistent, but I think we have the ability to put up crooked numbers. And
because even if you look at the lineup, you go down that order, even after you get past Harper and Castellanos, you still got guys like Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, who a lot of people are not thinking about Brandon Marsh and how good of a pickup he has been. I know he didn't start game 1. He came in later in game 1. You know, they didn't start him against a tough lefty, but that lineup at the bottom, they're not guaranteed outs at all. Yeah, without that expansion, we wouldn't be in there right now. So yeah, exactly. So Jason, something I've been thinking about, and I'm not sure exactly. You know, there's a lot of talk. I mean, obviously we were the underdogs against the Cardinals. Is that, you know, what's the vibe in the Phillies clubhouse? What's the thought? What is Rob Thomson telling these guys? Is he telling them you belong, and we, you know, one series is not enough? We could go all the way. Is he pumping them up and making them think they're better than they are? Or are they really zoning in on the underdog philosophy, like the 2017, you know, Eagles? They were the underdogs, you know, and they had that mentality the whole time. Do you think they should have that underdog mentality and feeling that no one respects us and use that to motivate them? Or do you think they should be going forward here as we belong? We're just as good as everybody else, and have that chip on your shoulder on that end?
No, I think the underdog mentality is the way to go. I think it's very successful method. I mean, you know that they're going to be, you know, obviously everybody's going to pick the Braves. I mean, I'm sure all the national, you know, broadcasters, analysts, they're probably going to pick the Braves. Just because,
right, and rightfully so, probably.
Well, the Braves are the returning World Series champions. Not
Absolutely.
only are the Braves a successful organization year in and year out, they won the World Series.
101 games or 100 games or something this year?
They won 101 games, and they came back on the Mets, who at one point were 10 and a half games up. So, I mean, now was that now some people, the Philly fans that like to go hard against the Mets fans would say that the Mets are the ones.
Hey, Jason, where's Aaron this morning?
I feel. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I feel bad. Like I don't even want to.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing today? How you feeling?
I'm not even gonna send. I haven't even texted him because I feel bad.
Poke the bear a little bit. Where's Aaron this morning?
I can't do that to my friend, man.
I barely know the guy, so I'll poke the bear there.
I know you will. I know you will, but no, but I mean,
hungry dogs do run faster. That is right.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, this is a great point from Mark. The Braves backed in last year. We're the Braves this year. I don't know if we're going to win the World Series, but man, everybody. Now that we poked the bear, everybody wants to poke the bear. Now that we did that,
that's okay.
It just goes to show. Look, I mean, this new format, this new system, multiple underdogs won this weekend, and it was kind of exciting. That 3-game series, I think Mark, somebody said it earlier. The 3-game series kind of has a NCAA tournament vibe to it. Because in a best of 5 or a best of 7, you lose one game, you still got a little bit more time to make that ground up. When it's a best of 3, one loss can be then once you get one loss, you're in sudden death mode from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, the Blue Jays and the Mets were definitely highly regarded. I mean, they were expected to be the better teams and go farther in the playoffs. Yeah. Blue Jays and Mets both got bounced. Now, the Mets obviously took it to the 3rd game, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking Mets, but I just don't know what to do as a Mets fan anymore. I mean, because they constantly have so much talent. I mean, even Max, who would have predicted Max Scherzer getting rocked the way he did in Game 1? It's crazy. It makes it even better as a Philly sports fan on a Monday morning where we beat the Cardinals. We beat the Cardinals. Everybody's beating the Cardinals and the Mets losing. It makes it better, but that's just an unfortunate, you know, organization right there. It's a great question from Scotty. Is this season already deemed a success? It depends, Scotty, on what you perceived your expectations for this team coming into the season. Me, I had them as a borderline team. I had them at 88 wins, maybe getting in the last spot, maybe not. So them getting in and winning around, to me, is a success. But if you're somebody, an analyst, a podcaster, or a fan that said that they were going to make a deep run, then that's not a success yet. They got to go. Like Mark had 92 wins, I believe. You know, at this point, it can't be considered a complete success if you had them going deep into if you really truly believe they were a great team and were going to make a deep run.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that because I had them at 95 wins. That doesn't mean that they are going to go on a deep run. It means that you look at the division. We're in one of the toughest divisions in baseball.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you have the Braves and Mets finish 101 wins, and the Mets are have to play in the first round, that just shows you like how deep this division is. Like, we had a tough division. We had a tough path to the division. Other divisions aren't as tough. Like, you look around the league, and I think that the Phillies, like, on paper, if you look at the Phillies roster just by their name value and their payroll, then you might want to say, well, no, it's not a success because they have the guys that do this. But if you look at the Phillies season in a microscope and you kind of zone in, look at where the Phillies were under Girardi, and now look where they are. To me, I think it's a huge success to be able to not only make the playoffs, but then win round one, and now be in a round two against the Braves in a series that you can definitely win.
Absolutely.
I mean,
you just said win round one against a Cardinals team. Dude, I just want to say, I want it on record that although I'm super excited, it was a little sad to see that be Albert Pujols' last game. I don't care about Yadier Molina. He is what he is. But, I mean, Pujols is one of the top 5 or 10 baseball players of all time. And that was probably his last game. So,
it was definitely his last game.
He didn't have a great series. He did hit the ball pretty hard most of the time he was up there, just constantly at somebody. It was special to see him, one last time in a postseason format like that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Albert Pujols.
As a true me and you, we're baseball like lifers. I mean, we care about baseball as much, if not more, than any other sport. And what have I always talked about? Respecting the greats, whether you like them or not, and appreciating you getting to watch it. I appreciate the fact that I got to watch all of Albert Pujols' career, and and get to really see him one final time was really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a deep dive on Albert Pujols because I want to find out where he ranks, and I believe he's a top 10 all-time player in Major League Baseball history. I do. I'm going to research it. I'm going to really look at it.
It's somewhere probably between 8, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range, for sure. But yeah, absolutely. Second all-time in RBIs, third all-time in home runs. I don't know if he finished with a 300 average. I know most of his career he had a 300 batting average. But anyway, I just want to give a little props to him right there. Yeah, I mean, the vibe in that Phillies clubhouse has to be riding high right now.
Well, you saw it. You saw their celebration.
Which I would love to end the Phillies talk with the celebration. Is it too much?
No.
The celebrating. You win a best of 3 series in the first round. Like, every time you win something, you got to celebrate. Is it too much? I agree. It's not too much.
Why would it be too much when this organization waited 11 years? If they were in the postseason every single season, like if it was the Patriots and they were doing that, I would say, yeah, this is a little bit over the top.
I agree.
It's the Phillies that haven't been in the playoffs in 11 years.
A lot of those players have never done it. And, we've bashed, and everybody on social media was bashing the announced team. But the postseason coverage, camera-wise, and getting into the locker rooms and the videos we've been able to see has been top-notch work. Because we are starting to see that person. We're starting to see Kyle Schwarber, and he's quite the dancer, we'll say. But also, the team kind of gravitates around. We've talked a lot about, is he the leader of this team? And as the free agent, he couldn't be the initial leader, but he might be now. You can kind of see the young kids are right on top of him. Everybody circles around Kyle Schwarber and his personality. And you don't get to see that extra access in the regular season. We're seeing it now, and it's great to see.
Absolutely. It's definitely not too much. I think it was very
well, there's people that'll say I've seen people on social media.
Freddie said it, exacted our revenge.
Backdooring your way into the playoffs, and you celebrate that. Then you win 2 games, you celebrate that.
The way you won the games. Dude, did they watch the series? I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Game 1, you win in the 9th inning. Everyone thought they were losing, including me, dude. I thought it was a loss. I
was telling y'all, don't give up. There's a reason why they're called the Fightin' Phils.
I thought it was a loss the way that offense was playing, and yes, they proved me wrong. And
absolutely,
I don't care if they celebrate like that every single win, because you know what? This team, Like I said, I'm excited. What I like the most is that we've witnessed the growth of Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott this year. We've seen them go from guys that, were struggling to get playing time under Girardi to basically being full-time players their entire season. And now they were involved in a postseason, and they both had big hits and big plays in that series. So
I was gonna wrap up Phillies and move on to Eagles, but I do want to address something here because Scotty said it. The Phillies have nothing to lose. They're playing loose at this point. Is there something to it? Because nobody they backdoored in. The expectations of this team weren't to win a World Series. Well, maybe it was, but nobody expected it. That nothing to lose mentality. Playing looser. Hey, we've got, if we lose to the Braves, well, we lost to the defending champs that won 101 games. So does that playing looser for the young guys and the vets that have never been here, does that give them any form of an advantage? Like, there's pressure on the Braves. They are expected to repeat. The Phillies, they win, awesome. If they lose, hey, great season. Great building block for next year. Is that something that we need to think more about?
Well, yeah, that's a perfect point by Scotty, because I actually, during the game, I think it was in game 2, one of the announcers said that they were talking about how they had talked to Kyle Schwarber, and he brought that exact point up.
Okay.
The fact that they weren't expected to be here, and the way that they got in, he said now they can just come in there and have fun. And that was like exactly his quote.
Right.
That they can just play and be themselves. Like, I think you could tell that there was
him saying that is kind of part to the leadership that he's turned into.
Dude, there was a lot of – think about the amount of pressure that was really put on them, because they wanted to extract the 11-year drought. They wanted it to kind of end that. And down the stretch, we saw them struggle a little bit towards the end of the season. So, people could say they backdoored their way in, but I don't really think they backdoored their way in, because nobody was really taking advantage of that last spot. Because the other teams struggled too down the stretch. The Brewers, the Padres, like, there were other teams struggling. So, but I think that's a huge point. And for him to say that now we're loose and we're here and we could just be us and have fun, that to me tells me that they're a scary team in this playoff. Like you said it, they are the scary team in the playoffs, because if they can just play and be themselves and not worry, not have everything bank on if they win, they're going to be better. Absolutely. Because I think you're naturally better when you're loose.
Yeah,
when you don't have those nerves. I mean, think about, especially in baseball, because baseball, when players get tight, that's when they start not swinging the right way, or not having the right plan, or not, seeing the right pitch. It's because everything is tight. If you go up there loose, perfect example is Bryce Harper. Did anybody see that Bryce Harper home run coming? I didn't. He's been struggling, like, at the plate. He was behind on pitches, even in game 2, in game 1 of this series. They were showing it, like, his swing was, like, way behind.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he hits a home run. That, to me, just shows me that he's loose. He's up there not, fighting himself.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. So we got to take a quick pause in the action here. DSM Media is always brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Today's show brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their great locations, Fishtown and Old City, and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and shows rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers, and being able to handle any style of cut, kid or adult. I'm gonna have to check out Gents Barber Lounge one of these days. Maybe get them to clean up the beards in that video, that commercial. Look a lot better than mine. I'm gonna have to get a professional cleanup of this beard one of these times. All right, Jason, we're back here trending in the AM on DSM Media. Again, if you're watching this show on YouTube, do me the favor of clicking the like button, clicking the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. It helps us with our algorithm, helps us build us up. We are now 40 subscribers away from 700. That means we're 340 away from that 1,000 mark, which is the goal here for us at Trending in the AM. And honestly, we just appreciate any support anywhere that we can. But we've got to move on because we're going to talk more Phillies tomorrow. We're really going to dive deeper into that Braves series tomorrow and really try to figure out what chance the Phillies have, what has to happen. But as you can see, the color of the screen has changed. It is now green because the Eagles also went cardinal hunting this weekend. And while it wasn't pretty, the Eagles are still and are the only undefeated team in the NFL right now as they beat the Cardinals 20-17 yesterday. A sloppy, poorly managed. There's a lot of adjectives we could use on this game. And I want to start with this one thing here, Jason. You said this could have been a trap game, and I agreed with you on it. And it actually was a trap game. And they still, lucky or not, were able to pull out the victory. Sometimes it's better to be lucky and 5-0 than unlucky and 4-1. So even though they got lucky in the win there, Kyler Murray sliding instead of going for the first, the missed field goal at the end there, a lot could have gone wrong that we got the loss. But can there be positives taken away from kind of sort of getting lucky in victory in that trap game format? Or does that kind of give you a mentality that we can't be beaten and that could be a negative? Because I'm looking as a positive that it's, hey, we didn't play our best. We still got the win. Let's fix it up. Let's clean it up next week against Dallas, where other people might say, we got lucky and we won. Nobody could stop us. We're bulletproof. And then maybe take the Cowboys next week too lightly.
No, I'm with you. I think there's definitely areas of the game that kind of were annoying and concerning to me.
Right.
The biggest thing that was concerning to me was the play calling and the lack of adjustments and the amount of time it took to make those adjustments. Like, I know that this team, we've talked about it on shows, that, podcasters have talked about it, analysts have talked about it, how the Eagles have this, propensity with Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman to want to pass the ball. And I get that. I get all that. I get the fact that, you have a shiny new toy in Hurts, and he's now shown improvement. And now all of a sudden you want to keep getting him, you want to keep bragging about it. Mm-hmm. But to me, I think you have to look at this a different way. You have to say to yourself, what is the Eagles' really main strength? It's running the football.
Absolutely.
And you have to look at, we had Shane Haff on Friday from the Painted Lines on this show, and he discussed how Arizona is the number one blitz team in the NFL. They blitz like over almost close to 40% of the time. That's their MO. So when you know that, what is the best way to beat the blitz? It's run, and then play action. Well, the Eagles, they come out and they're just passing the ball, and that's my concern. It's not that you don't have the players, you don't have good players yet. It's the fact that your game plan coming in should have been built to kind of beat the team that blitzes like crazy. And
right.
It just seemed to me like they were not matching like the game plan as far as what it should have been and what it was. So
I think you're spot on. I mean, yeah, there was some bang. The offensive line again got banged up again yesterday. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Kelsey, surprisingly, I thought that was the end. Heart sunk when Kelsey was limping off the field. He only missed, I think it was like 3 plays total yesterday. But it felt like the end of the world for those 3 plays. But then you had other issues on that line. Apeta played a bunch of snaps. Who was the other one? Who else got hurt there yesterday? Was it Dickerson got hurt yesterday? Yeah. So Apeta had to play a bunch. Look, Scotty's basically where I was gonna go here. Arizona's got a strong defense, rushing the ball. So the game plan was to beat them in the air, and that's fine. But as soon as the injuries start to pile up, and the game wasn't going the way you planned. You got to learn. So the play calling at first didn't bother me. How the game played out and the lack of adjustments on the play call is what bothered me. The excessive, I mean, they ran how many bubble screens yesterday and little wide receiver screens and tight end screens. Now, the tight end screens seemed to work really well to Dallas Goedert, but they literally ran, it felt like 50% of their plays were little screens to wide receivers or Dallas Goedert. And the repetitiveness of it makes it very easy for defenses to adjust and figure out how to stop them. And that, to me, was the concern. The lack of adjustments by the play calling from Shane Steichen. Look, Shane Steichen's still a big picture. He's still a pretty new play caller. He's had a lot of success, but he's still learning. And we've seen that this team doesn't take things for granted. They will be able to go in this weekend or this week and work on these things and fix these things. And I'm sure Shane Steichen will learn from this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I get that, they were fifth against the run, but like I said, you have to go by what their game plan is. You know that they blitz, and that's the thing. Like, it's fine. I'm not saying run the ball 24/7, but what I'm saying is you got to mix in the run, and you got to keep the team honest. Mm-hmm. When they're blitzing and you're losing offensive linemen left and right, and you're still passing, that's a problem. That's all I'm saying.
Jason, I got to cut you off because Scotty said, why no screens to AJ? And me and you had a little battle back and forth on social media yesterday about AJ Brown's snap count and how he was missing multiple times for stretches on the field. And I don't know. I just want you to know I got the snap count up here on my screen.
I got it too. It was 74%.
He was not on the field. Smitty was out there for 72 of 73 plays. AJ Brown was out there for 54 of 73 plays.
74%.
Why is AJ Brown the guy you just traded a draft pick for? You gave $100+ million to. There was 2 drives in the second half. Well, that's on the announcers for not bringing it. The announcers for Fox lately have been awful with the injury news. They take forever to get that information to you. But there was 2 drives in the second half where the first 5 or 6 plays of the drive, Smitty was out there with a 3 tight end set, and then the next one it was Smitty and Pascal, and that's all. It was literally 12 plays in 2 back-to-back drives, and then he was right back out there afterwards. To me, that's questionable right there. If he's not hurt, if it comes out today he's hurt, okay, that'll explain it. But if you think 3 tight end sets and running screen passes to Smitty is better than having AJ Brown out there with Smitty, to me, that's a questionable decision right there. And I'm curious to see how that all plays out.
Well, that's the only thing I could think of. Why would he not be in there?
Because they were thinking they were being, that 3 tight end set. Maybe they thought those 3 tight end sets, the first drive, were almost all pass plays. And maybe they just thought that running that 3 tight end set would give them some form of an advantage. Well, I'm putting AJ Brown out there. How many bubble screens or wide receiver screens did Devontae Smith run? And you didn't run any of them to AJ Brown?
I mean, I looked at AJ Brown.
AJ Brown's a more physical runner. He might be more adept to be able to handle those kind of plays. Devontae Smith took a lot of hits yesterday.
I knew this was going to come up, so I went back and I looked at AJ Brown's snap counts for the season, and it's been around pretty much consistently around 84%. So
84% to 74%, that's a 10% drop. That's 7 more plays, 8 more plays.
No, I got that, but what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to figure out why. Because
So again,
the only thing that I can think of is that maybe he was hurt. Maybe he was a little banged up.
It might have been, but it also was the play design. So what they were trying to do was the 3 tight end sets were all passes. So they were trying to be deceptive. And then the next drive, when they had him out there or Pascal out there with Devontae Smith, they ran, I think, all 5 or 6 plays, and Pascal's a better blocking wide receiver than AJ Brown. But if you're smart enough, you could tell, oh, it's Pascal out there with Devontae Smith. Well, clearly this is going to be a run play. He's out there to help block. You know what I mean? So their creativity was, I think they thought they were being creative, but really they weren't. It was so obvious what they were doing. Unless he's injured, unless he's banged up, which there's been no signs. He's not missed any practices. I didn't see him going to the blue tent or anything like that. Unless he's injured, they were trying to be creative, but not realizing that they weren't being creative.
Well, I could tell you, I can assure you this much. I can assure you that A.J. Brown, if he isn't hurt,
Not happy.
and if this trend continues where he's not used where he needs to be, he will speak up. So
Absolutely.
I think if we all agree that A.J. Brown needs to be in there more, I agree. But to me, then that just goes more to what I was saying about the bad play calling and the bad game plan that Nick Sirianni
I was actually
had.
complimenting.
We've been very high on Nick Sirianni all year. We've been high on him and how he's shown a propensity to make adjustments, and even Jonathan Gannon. And I watched the game in which I saw both of those coaches regress as far as adjustments, because the defense was not much better as far as their adjustments. They did adjust later in the game, but at that point it was kind of too late, because that's when Kyler started running around like a little man, as Darius Slade.
Let's speak on that defense for a second. You bring up the defense, man. I don't know if it's because it was a trap game, as you like to call, or as you called it, and we talked about it. But man, they were not the tackling was god awful this week. Was AJ Brown running the tackling drills all week? Because it was bad. It was really, really, it was high school level tackling all game long, and kind of frustrating, because that's one thing this team, like TJ Edwards missed some tackles. That's not what he had used to. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I saw missed tackles. The defensive line missed tackles. Jordan Davis was out there a lot yesterday. His highest snap count and highest snap percentage yesterday. 42%, I think it was. And even that, there was just missed tackles all over the field. And what is that? It's lack of discipline, and it's lack of, focus on a game. And to me, the game was close. The Cardinals did what they did. The Cardinals, we were joking, they're not a good team. They're a good team. They might not be a superstar team. They might not be a Super Bowl contender, but they're still a good team with some talented players on it. You can't tackle like that. We go into Dallas next week and try to tackle like that, we're going to have problems. Or come home and have Dallas at home. That was really bad, Jason.
I mean, a lot of things were bad yesterday. The difference is that we knew going into this game, Arizona has struggled early in games. Like, their first halves have been awful, but they've been one of the best teams in the second half.
Absolutely.
And you saw that. You saw that in the game, the way the game kind of went and trended.
Right.
We were up 14-0, and everybody was like, "Man, we got this." And like, you could just tell, like, okay, well, then the Cardinals have that drive, they come back, get the TD, it's 14-7. Then they just start slowly chipping away, and our offense once again had a lapse where we became stagnant, and that to me is a concern. Now we're in week 5, and
that
remember we were
probably
saying
the biggest concern of the season at this point.
Yeah, because remember earlier in the year we were saying, we chalked it up and we said, all right, well, maybe it was just because of the way the game went, and they can do better. Well, I'm still waiting now. We're in week 5, and we still haven't really shown that big second half. Yeah. And that will bite you in the ass when you play a team that is at your caliber as far as talent level. Yeah. I mean, Dallas game, I'm not gonna lie. I know it's early, right? But I think a lot of people, including Philadelphia fans, have not really realized how good Dallas is this year. I mean, Dallas, they're playing without their starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. They're playing with a guy that hardly.
Did you watch the Dallas game yesterday?
Complete, huh?
I just remember them flipping over to the Dallas game at some point yesterday, and Micah Parsons was limping off the field.
He did, but he came back.
Okay, so that wasn't a serious injury or anything like that?
No, because he said that he didn't want to, he told the coach, all I want to do is rush the passer, and he got another sack when he came back in the game. So
he's fine. Okay, sorry. I was just back in the back corner of my head. I'm like,
you're trying to
Yeah, I'm trying to find
We're looking
already.
for every little advantage that we can get.
If Micah Parsons isn't out there, then obviously we got an advantage. Yeah, just the bad tackling. Could it be the jet lag? Could it be the trap game? There's so many things that could be. But that was the first time we've seen super bad tackling on play after play. Adam bringing it up here. There were 2 third-down plays that should not have been first downs because there was, I think, 3 missed tackles on each one. But the offense in the second half, those little drop-offs, that 5 weeks in a row, that's to me, the number one issue with this team is Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts need to sit down and lock themselves in a room and figure out why in the third quarter they just go stone cold on offense. Because when you play really good teams, Dallas next week, you need to score for 4 quarters. You need to play 60 minutes of football. And they're just not capable of doing it right now. That's the problem.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
So, Miles Sanders, we all agree, has had a very good season. Very good. Right? I saw some of his runs where I'm like, man, he's really I tweeted out, he's running with authority.
Absolutely.
He's not like dancing around near as much. He's more hitting that hole and going. They showed that one where I think it was the second half where he had like a 10-yard run. It was his best run of the day. Why all of a sudden go to Kenny Gainwell for that whole one series?
Yeah.
Was Miles Sanders hurt, or was that one of these other things
Yeah,
where
we don't know?
Where
a good announced team, you watch Sunday Night Football, you watch Monday Night Football now with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on it, they never – if any starting player comes off the field for anything, they say something right away. If they go into the blue tent, Michelle Tafoya or whoever the sideline reporter is running over to find out what's going on. But these B and C team announced teams from Fox that we've had this year have been so – it's literally sometimes a quarter later and you're finding out a player's hurt. They're so slow so slow on the draw there. And I don't know. It really did make no sense that they went to Kenneth Gainwell for such a long stretch there.
It was like a whole series. And
yeah,
I'm like,
again,
why
I don't think
back?
But see, the thing is, you could pull that little thread right there. You could pull that little thread of A.J. Brown not being on the field twice. It's what Scotty's saying here. It's personnel decisions. It's harkening back to, was it during the Chip Kelly era, I think, when Deuce Staley was the running back coach, and Chip Kelly said, well, he deflected it to Deuce and saying, well, Deuce decides what running backs to put out there. Whoever's deciding on the personnel decisions at what time,
yeah, it's questionable.
It's questionable. Now, is that Shane Steichen because he's calling the plays? Is that Nick Sirianni because he's the leader that drives the whole ship? I don't know, but you're right. Miles Sanders, I mean, I still got the snap count. Let me see the snap counts here. Miles Sanders was out there for 54 plays, 74% of the drive, or the plays. Sermon, I didn't even know Sermon saw the field. I guess he saw 3 plays. That's kind of surprising. And Gainwell was out there for 16 plays. There's no need for Gainwell to be out there for 16 plays. Gainwell should be out there for the 2-minute drill offense, and that's about it. And even then, you could probably go to Miles Sanders.
Yeah, it's just weird to me.
Mark's saying he wants to see more Gainwell. Gainwell hasn't shown me. Gainwell went from somebody with all this potential to Gainwell being somebody that literally brings nothing to the table, in my opinion. He has regressed massively this year, in my opinion. I don't know here. This one, Hollywood Brown, not considered good. See, I don't think Hollywood Brown is that good. Hollywood Brown's touchdown was based off of the fact that we missed 4 tackles on that play. Hollywood Brown's a good wide receiver. He's one of the better number 2 wide receivers in football, but he's not a 1A. He's not even a 1B. He's a 2A, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I
Side
agree with you on that.
Myers, Smith, Hale were excellent yesterday compared to the crap we've seen them. They were okay. I know you love bragging that Hal retweeted or liked your comment. I don't care, Mark. Get that crap out of here. Who was that ABC person you're with? I don't know who that is. Get out of here. You get so excited, Mark, about little things like that.
It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway,
let him have his day.
Let him have his day. No, let's not let him have his day. Let's pour salt on the wounds when we can. Look, there's a lot of negatives to take out of it, Jason. There's a lot.
You asked the question at the beginning of this segment, is there anything positive to take away? And we
They
haven't
won.
really answered that, which is
Well,
funny.
they won. That's the
Because-
positive.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying in general, as far as anybody's play, like obviously Jalen Hurts, had another good game. I wouldn't say it was a great game because
I mean,
but
he got lucky on that interception for sure. I mean, that ball should have been picked.
yeah, I
It
mean
was
that
dropped.
makes
That was a terrible pass. Terrible pass.
definitely a bad pass. And like I said, he didn't really have anything happen in the second half, which, as we said, is concerning. So I think Jalen Hurts, like, I'm not going to say it was a bad game for him, but I'm not going to say it was his best game. It was not his best game
No.
of the year.
So we won the game. Is it almost as it's almost too easy to say that we didn't win the game. The Cardinals lost the game. I mean, I will say to Mark's point, Myers, Smith, and Hale were excellent yesterday. They were excellent compared, and they weren't great all game. But at the end of the game, you very rarely hear national announcers call out star players. And both Chris Myers and Smith were very open about calling Kyler Murray out when he slid, did not get the first down, then spiked the ball to have to force them to kick that field goal there. When he could have just not slid, gotten 2 more yards, gotten the first down, and then they could have spiked the ball and even ran another play. The fact that they were calling him out there on that play, to me, was a real big deal because you don't see that. You get the Chris Collinsworth who finds something positive to say about every player. Them calling him out, that was bold on them because that's just not what you expect or you get from those kind of announcers nationally, on any given Sunday.
I mean, I agree. I didn't really.
And I agree with what they said too. I mean, he basically cost them that game on that little 2-3 play stretch right there.
Yeah, that's the problem with Kyler Murray. Like, it's too much boom or bust, and that's a problem. But I think the coach. I mean, we could do a whole show on the coach. I think they have one of the worst coaching staffs in the NFL. Like the Cardinals. Like, I think that's part of their major problem is their coaching. But Kyler Murray, let's face it, like he still did bring them back to almost be able to win. He brought them back to the 17. Like we were down 14 nothing. I'm trying to find a positive. I guess the positive that I could say is
I know my positive.
You know your positive?
Yeah. It's that the leaders of this team we still won. And I'm just gonna say that this team is full of leaders. And the leaders, I mean, Jalen Hurts didn't play great. Yes, Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen didn't have the best play calling. But leaders keep the positive mentality that you're never gonna let yourself get too down. And Kyler Murray might have screwed the game up there at the end, but the leaders helped carry this team to victory. They didn't let a trap game turn into a loss. They didn't let all the negatives that happened turn into a loss. I'm just going to say that the leaders led this team and kept them positive through all the negatives of the game.
And when they brought the kicker in and everyone was like, why are they kicking it? But like, I think we got a hand on that ball. I don't know if you watched it closely.
I didn't watch any replays of it, but maybe.
The way that the ball fluttered, it looked like we.
It wasn't that when. Can we say how bad the turf was?
Oh.
Man. Whew. Jalen Hurts on that one play when he tried to make a cut.
Yeah, that was
on
scary.
A run and he slipped. I'm surprised we didn't have a. Yeah, that's really surprising from a natural grass field to have that bad of stability there. It's kind of crazy. Look, it's crazy to be this negative at this point when you just locked up a 5-0 record. It really is. But they are 5-0. And again, I'll come back to the first thing I said. It's better to be lucky and 5-0 than unlucky and 4-1. And the Eagles are still the only undefeated team in football. They are still 5-0. They're going to have their biggest test next week on Sunday Night Football against the division rival Dallas Cowboys. Let's also not take anything away from the New York Giants going out to London and laying the smackdown on the Green Bay Packers. This NFL season, there are so many teams that are 2-3 and 3-2 and 1-3 and 3 that there's no team is getting too high and no team is getting too low. Yet the one constant is that the Eagles are still the only undefeated team. So that there is a positive, in my opinion. If they can go out next week and find a way to beat the Cowboys and get to 6-0, there's nothing that's stopping this team.
I mean,
it's gonna be how many teams, we were talking about it yesterday, how many teams that the Rams, the Falcons, there's so many teams, the Browns, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Packers again, the Vikings. There's so many teams that are just mediocre. And yet the Eagles are still 5-0.
Yeah, and the haters can say that, oh, well, look who you've played. But, I mean, we beat Minnesota, who's a very good football team.
Yep.
We beat Arizona, who is a good football team. Not great, but they're good.
Some people would say that they're great, but, yeah, they're a good team.
They could be great. Let's see how they look when.
Would Kyler Murray be better if would Kyler Murray be better if Cliff Kingsbury wasn't there?
Yeah, he would, absolutely. And I think I'd like to see what happens with them when DeAndre gets back. I think they will look different. I mean, that's like getting a weapon at the trade deadline.
Right.
Yeah, I think right now Eagles are the best team in the NFL. I mean, we put them on our power rankings. We've had them there for probably 3 weeks at least. But, yeah, I mean, I think the NFL, you're right. You look around and you're like, man, any team can lose on any given week. You say about any team winning, it's like you're seeing teams that you would never expect lose. I wouldn't have thought Dallas would have beat the Rams. As bad as the Rams have played, I still think the Rams have a ton of talent. But I would look at the Rams and say that I think they're very top heavy. I think the Eagles have the most balanced team in the NFL.
I just did a quick count. There's 32 teams in the NFL. 20 of them are either 2-3 or 3-2 at this point. That tells you how mediocre the NFL is, from any team like getting overly dominant. 20 out of 30.
That's the wrong word to use. Mediocre makes it sound like they're not good. I
don't know what the right word is.
Parity.
There is no parity, or there is too much parity, or I don't even know. Look, that's insane to think 20 out of 32 teams are sitting at 2-3 or 3-2 through 5 weeks. It's really kind of insane in my opinion. And that could change. Because if the Raiders win tonight, because the Raiders are playing the Chiefs tonight, the Raiders can find a way to beat the Chiefs. That would put it at 22 out of 32 teams. Would be 2-3 or 3-2.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're right.
There's just a lot of everybody's bunching. Somebody responded to one of my tweets about that yesterday, saying that's what the NFL wants. Well, through all of that,
the NFC East
5-0,
and the NFC East, which was supposed to be the weakest division.
That's three of the teams. Three.
Have Eagles at 5-0 and the Cowboys and Giants at 4-1. Who would have thought? I mean,
exactly.
Crazy.
It's crazy how it's all playing out. But yet it also, for a guy like me that gambles a lot and, does a lot of daily fantasy DraftKings lineups, it makes it so tough to predict week to week because you just don't know. Green Bay could be a great team. Green Bay might be an average team. Green Bay might just suck. You just can't tell. The Rams, are they having a Super Bowl hangover? Is Matthew Stafford washed up? Or do they suck? Or are they just slow out of the gate? There's so many. The Bengals, the Chargers. Both teams, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, are they any good or are they just average? The Ravens last night. Are the Ravens any good? You don't know. Because every week they play different. Yet the Eagles are still 5-0. That's all that I could keep saying. Everything we say here about the NFL, but the Eagles are still 5-0.
Is your team 5-0? Because ours.
My team is 5-0. Is your team 5-0, Jason?
Hell yeah.
All right. So if we're going to say anything overreaction Monday-wise today, they've barely used that phrase today, is in hell. The Eagles are 5-0. It's not an overreaction. It's a legit fact. Look it up. Google it. Where all these teams are 3-2 and 2-3. All these great teams, the Packers, the Bengals, the Chargers, they're all the Broncos. Oh, boy, am I so glad the Broncos stink. I am so glad that the Broncos stink right now. All the hate that I threw their way and Russell Wilson's way in the offseason, and I was told, no, they're going to the Super Bowl. Yes, George, I'm calling you out. Maybe you're listening still out there somewhere. I'm so glad the Broncos stink right now. So glad about that one. Makes me go like this.
Who, Russ?
Yeah, Russ and those Broncos. Just patting myself on the back for that one right there. Anyway,
Did you have a bet?
we never made an official bet or anything like that. We talked about it. We danced around it. Nothing was officially handshook, agreed, signed, documented, contracted, whatever. But look, Eagles beat the Cardinals 20-17. They have a huge matchup next week. We are going to break it down all week long. But if they clean up some of their things, some of their mistakes from yesterday, I know everyone wants to say the Cowboys are this great team, but I would really hope that the Eagles can beat Cooper Rush and hand him his first loss. I'd really like to think that the Phillies
Won't Dak
take care of business against the Braves. What's that?
Isn't Dak coming back?
It hasn't been ruled official at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, that would be even better for us than a rusty Dak Prescott. I don't know. I can't buy the 4-1 Cowboys with Mike McCarthy as their head coach. I just can't. I know they got talent. I know their defense is really good. But Ezekiel Elliott's not great anymore. He's okay. Tony Pollard's not great. He's okay. Their wide receiver group is good, but our secondary is better. If you could protect
Jalen Hurts, a better overall team.
If you could protect Jalen Hurts, that is going to be the number one thing. I don't even care about the play calling. I don't even care about, the rotations of the running backs or the wide receivers this week in practice. I care about one thing, and it's cleaning up the offensive line. And I talked about it briefly on Twitter yesterday. Is the Eagles' offensive line maybe not as great as they are perceived because Jalen Hurts gets them out of trouble a lot of the time. Well, it was banged up yesterday, and they gave up a lot of pressure yesterday to a blitz-heavy team that doesn't get home very often. So it's been an issue this year. And I've called it out in a few games that Jalen Hurts gets a little too much pressure on him. And he's able to escape it a lot of the time. If I'm zoning in on one thing, is I need Jeff Stoutland to figure this out, to figure out why, and to figure out how to get whoever's filling in for Jordan Mailata, whoever's filling in for anybody on the same page.
When is Mailata back?
Maybe next week, maybe not. And there's a chance Andre Dillard's back next week as well. His practice window has been started. So it was started last week. He has 21 days to be activated. So it's already been 7 or 8 days since his practice window has been activated. So in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see Andre Dillard back as an active dress player.
Well,
so you might get Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard back next week.
That's good news.
But you got guys banged up. They're not going to practice all week. They got to find a way to get these guys on the same page, and the blocking schemes, the pass protection, specifically because we don't need Micah Parsons, hitting Jalen Hurts 20 times next week.
When is the press conference?
There's one today. There'll be one tomorrow. There's one
I'd be interested to see if anybody asks him about A.J. Brown because that's definitely a great.
Yeah, we'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. All right. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Training the AM right there on DSM Media, again, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. And again, make sure you do us that favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It greatly goes a long way to helping us out. If you're watching on replay, drop your comments still because that still helps. Still helps us build the algorithm, helps us, along the ways big time. We'd greatly appreciate anything and everything that you could do to help us build this show. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button. Do it all. We'll be back tomorrow. More Eagles talk. Maybe we'll dabble in Sixers talk. They play a preseason game tonight, but we're going to start breaking down that Phillies Braves series very, very, very detailed tomorrow. We'll be back, Jason and I, back to our regular start time, 8:30. And everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back. Yo, ring the damn bell, baby.
Ring the bell.